Next, we're going to look at the liverworts in more detail. Liverworts are so called because of their liver-shaped lobes. They will be found in moist and shady places, just like any other bryophyte. Amphibians of the plant kingdom require water for completion of their sexual stages of life cycle. What you say this is a liverwort is actually it's gametophyte, which in angiosperms is very reduced. In angiosperms, the main plant body that you see, the big trees, the small plants, they are the sporophytes, okay, and the gametophytes are very reduced in case of the angiosperms. However, we are way back in the evolution. In case of the bryophytes, the main plant body is not the sporophyte, but it's actually the gametophyte. They are haploid structures, and what they bear is root-like, leaf-like, and shoot-like structures, not root, shoot, and leaf. Main plant body is the gametophyte, which are haploid, and these are photosynthetic, free-living, dominant, thalloid. In case of the liverworts, the main plant body is said to be dorsiventral. In case of the mosses, it is upright, but in case of the liverworts, the plant body is dorsiventral, that is, it is closely upraised to the ground or substratum. Rhizoids, in case of the liverworts, will be unicellular. In case of the mosses, they will be multicellular. Unicellular in case of liverworts. Asexual reproduction will be by gemma formation. We will discuss this process of asexual reproduction, gemma formation, when we do the life cycle of liverworts. Okay, some examples of liverworts are Marchantia. This is the most famous bryophyte, Marchantia. This one is dioecious. Dioecious means that the male and female sex organs are on separate thalli. Not on one plant body, they are on separate thalli. Then there's another one called as Rixia. This one is monoecious. Monoecious is male and female sex organs on same thallus. Human beings are dioecious. Then there is another one called as Porella. This is known for its leafy gametophyte. If you look at it carefully, you will find that it has leaf-like structures or appendages arranged in 2 rows. It's known for its unique appearance. Important example from NCERT. So these are the general features of the liverworts. We are going to study one of this liverwort in more detail. So let us start with the life cycle of Marchantia. The life cycle of Marchantia. Marchantia is dioecious. The main plant body of a liverwort in Marchantia, it's actually the gametophyte, haploid plant bodies with the root-like, leaf-like, shoot-like structures. In case of the angiosperms, which are most advanced in evolution, the main plant body that you see is the sporophyte, and the gametophytes are very reduced in them. Think about pollen grains and inside the ovule some certain cells. Very reduced and inconspicuous in case of the angiosperms, the gametophytes. The main plant bodies are sporophytes. However, we are very way back in the evolution. For bryophytes, the main plant body is the gametophyte. So it was for the algae also. In case of the algae, the sporophyte was one cell thick. In case of the bryophyte, what happens? We are going to look at it in the life cycle. Marchantia is dioecious. The male and the female thallus is separate. The female thallus will bear the female sex organs and the male thallus will bear the male sex organs. Female thallus is the female gametophyte and the male thallus is the male gametophyte. Let us make a note here. In Marchantia, the gametophytes are thalloid, photosynthetic. They will be green in color. The dominant plant generation, haploid, dioecious, free-living. These root-like structures that you see over here, these are the rhizoids. The rhizoids, like we have seen, will be unicellular. How to differentiate the female thallus and the male thallus? So in female thallus, you see such kind of structures here. Bakis, everything will be similar except for these stalks which bear the sex organs. In case of the female, they will have such kind of lobe-like structures, and the male thallus will have such kind of disc-like structure bearing sex organs. This stalk over here that is bearing the sex organs is called as the archegoniophore, which will bear the sex organs which will be dangling below these lobe-like structures, okay, microscopic, and these female sex organs that they bear are called as archegonia. So you can mention here bear archegonia. What are archegonia? Female sex organs. So archegoniophore is the stalk, phore means stalk, that bear the archegonia. Next, in case of the male thallus, the stalk will be called as antheridiophore. The sex organs that bears will be located over here in the center. Again microscopic. The sex organs will be called as antheridia. Antheridia are the male sex organs. These cup-like structures that you see over here, these are the gemma cups. Gemma cups meant for asexual reproduction. Each cup has 2 birds like this. which are 8 shaped. Each bird can form one thallus. Therefore, one cup is equal to 2 thalli. Agree? Of same sex. Why? Because it is asexual reproduction. If gemma birds from the male thallus reproduce, then they will form 2 male thalli. Alright, and likewise for the female thalli. Now we are looking at the structure of the archegonium and antheridium in more detail. What you see over here is the female sex organ archegonium and the antheridium. Archegonium is known to be flask shaped and antheridium is known to be club shaped. Club means swollen at the tip, that's what it is. This flask shape is divided into 2 parts, this part and this part. This part is called as the neck region and the swollen part is called as the venter, wherein the neck part will have few cells arranged in line over here. They are called as the neck canal cells, NCCs. Then in the venter, there are 2 cells there. One is called as the venter canal cell, and finally there is the egg cell, the female gamete. The female gametophyte is known to produce female gamete, and that is what it is producing. All structures are haploid here. Whereas the antheridium is known to have a mass of cells inside, which is called as the sperm mother cells, which will be haploid. Each sperm mother cell will undergo the process of mitosis and produce 2 comma-shaped sperms which appear in this manner. They are called as the antherozoids or the sperm cells. So archegonium has produced the egg cell and the antheridium has produced the sperm cells or the antherozoids. So the female and the male gametes are now ready in both the thalli. Now what is going to happen? Like we discussed earlier, they need a lot of presence of water around. What happens when there is a lot of water around is that these neck canal cells will absorb the water and will become jelly-like, and they will secrete certain chemotactic substances. Chemotaxis means something that will attract towards it with the influence of chemicals. The sperms will be released from the sex organs and they will move here and they will swim in the water and move towards the increasing concentration of that chemical which is released from the neck canal cells of the archegonium. They will start doing chemotactic movements towards the archegonium. Who? The antherozoids. So these sperm cells will go and they will enter into, they will do chemotactic movements, chemotaxis. Finally, the antherozoids are going to approach the mouth of this archegonium. They will enter and they will fertilize the egg cell, and a 2N zygote will be produced because of the fertilization process. What will happen is fertilization or syngamy will occur, and what will be produced into the archegonium will be a zygote, which will be 2N. The function of the venter canal cell is to provide nutrition to the zygote. Zygote, the first cell of the sporophyte. First cell of sporophyte. What will happen now? What had happened in case of the algae? What had happened to the zygote in case of the algae? The zygote, it had undergone the process of meiosis and its generation had remained only 1 cell long. In case of the algae, the length of the sporophyte generation was only 1 cell because it had immediately undergone meiosis. When it undergoes meiosis, from 2N it has become haploid. That means the generation is over. However, in case of the bryophytes, what does the sporophyte do? Does it undergo meiosis? So no. Bryophytes are known to be the first embryophytes. The zygote in this case will undergo the process of mitosis. It will undergo the process of mitosis and will start producing a tissue. It will become considerably big in size and will start appearing like this. So inside over here somewhere the zygote has been produced, isn't it? Now the zygote will grow and eventually the structure that is going to be seen, it will start looking like this. This will be yellow in color. Okay, this is the sporophyte 2N. It will look like a capsule. It will be yellow in color. Okay, and let us look at it further. This is the sporophyte. It will be 2N. 3 parts it has. This part is called as the capsule. The neck part is called as seta, and the foot part is called as foot. Foot, seta, capsule, 3 parts, and it will be yellow in color. Why I am saying it's yellow in color? Because this sporophyte is the same sporophyte that is like a huge tree in case of the angiosperms. And this structure has now considerably become bigger, but it is yellow in color. It does not have any photosynthetic pigments inside it. That means it is non-photosynthetic, completely dependent on the gametophyte as of now. Non-photosynthetic, and it is completely dependent on gametophyte. In case of the mosses, you will see that the sporophyte is becoming light green in color. Light green, not dark. What does that imply? That the sporophyte is becoming bigger and it is gaining photosynthetic pigment. Okay, it is trying to become more and more independent. That we will see in case of the mosses. Coming back over here, the sporophyte has gained a considerably big structure. It is called the capsule seta foot, and inside of it there will be present 2N cells. This entire structure is going to be 2N, and inside this will be present some 2N cells which will be called as spore mother cells. These are called as the spore mother cells, which will be 2N. The spore mother cells will undergo the process of meiosis and will produce spores, which will be haploid. Let's say these are the spores. They will be homosporous. Homosporous means all are alike. There is no difference. All spores will be alike. These spores will be generated inside this capsule. Why is the sporophyte called as a sporophyte? Because it produces spores. Has it produced spores? Yes, by the process of meiosis. Also, what is present inside this capsule will be such kind of structures. Now, what are these? This kind of spring-like structures are present, which are called as elaters, which will be 2N structures. So what do? Is that they attach the spores to themselves in this manner. And when this capsule becomes dry, desiccated, the elaters are also going to become dehydrated, and because of the dehydration process, this capsule is going to burst open and out will come the elaters, and when they are being released, the elaters will roll back, dispersing the spores all around. Alright, it's a mechanism for spore dispersal, elater mechanism, important, which is found in case of the Markantia. This elater mechanism is for spore dispersal. What you see over here is a dehisced capsule. What you see over here is a intact capsule. The spores will be dispersed, and when these spores germinate, what you will find is germination of the spores produces new gametophytes. Can you say the spore is the first cell of gametophyte? And as such, new male and female thalli will be produced. Do not get confused between sperm mother cells and spore mother cells. Sperm mother cells are part of the gametophyte. They will be haploid and they will undergo mitosis to produce sperms. And these cells which are there inside the sporophyte, which will be 2Ns, and they will undergo the process of meiosis, not mitosis like these guys, and they will produce spores. The sporophyte has produced spores? Yes. Has the gametophyte produced gametes? Yes. The gametophyte generation is being followed by sporophyte generation, and the sporophyte generation is then again followed by gametophyte generation. In this whole sequence, you will find that the main plant body is the gametophyte, and the sporophyte is taking up some space in the life cycle, not as little as the ones in algae. They are gaining considerable space in the life cycle. The sporophyte and gametophyte, they share almost similar duration. This is known as a haplodiplontic life cycle, wherein the haploid phase is dominant, but the diploid is also there considerably. Haplodiplontic life cycle. One more important point: in case of the algae, the sex organs were unicellular and non-jacketed, except for Chara, which had multicellular and jacketed sex organs. In case of bryophytes, the sex organs are known to be multicellular and jacketed. These are the sex organs. Are these sex organs multicellular? Yes. Are they jacketed? You see these layers around? Yes. Protective layers around is called as the jacket layer, which will be sterile. Let me make a mention here. Sex organs are multicellular and jacketed. So that is the life cycle of Markantia, a haplodiplontic life cycle. Next we look at mosses in more detail.
महादेव के नाम पे सब्सक्राइब कर दें।